Skyrim theme song from the Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Hello, how are we doing? Oh, big delay. Glad to have you back, Chainsaw Chody. You are prompt as always. Very nice to different from the first few streams where I would be streaming for hours and hours until one person managed to join. Now I can just it's like I'm talking to my friend. Happy to be back. Got to play some music, right? Yeah, it was a weird week. Just I feel like I started off real strong. Came in like really ready to get back into the swing of things after like nearly a month off, and then just instantly got really sick again. I think I'm on the mend now. I think I'm doing a lot better, but more than anything, just really annoying. So yeah, not that I'm being annoying, the sickness is. But I did a few things since the last stream, because a few things were a bit problematic. So I figured out how to pin comments. That's for one. So there should be a pinned comment on Twitch. I figured out how to use my Stream Deck to control my music volume. which means that there's no more waiting 2 minutes for me to tab out to a separate window and control the music volume that way. So that's good. And oh, what's another? I got Kofi, buy me a coffee stuff alerts going in the window. So if anyone ever donates to me again, we'll see that come through in there. And oh yeah, as of setting up this stream, I figured I saw a thing when trying to figure out how to pin comments. I saw that there's a thing built into Twitch to have a a follow goal. So that's why that's up there. We'll see if it does anything. Maybe if Lucky Loos come in and see I'm looking for follows, they'll think to click that. I'm skeptical. But yeah. So what have we got planned for today? Put on some happier music and crank it up. I say happier music and then press the sad, bleak music playlist. Thank you. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, so what we've got today. I've been doing, in my spare time, I've been doing a lot of boring stuff that I will not do on stream. That I think the last few times I streamed, I threatened to do some work on documentation. And not gonna be boring you with that. Just to give an idea of what I've been working on that is gonna stay off screen. Basically, I want documentation within the library to be like on point. As in, you know, basically I want readmes everywhere. I want you to be on any page and know exactly what's up, know exactly where you are, where the other stuff is, how it all works. And so I'm gonna have readmes galore. And so like there's the top level one that was entirely manually written and it had most of the package info. But I want like every folder that contains, you know, a function or a component to have its own readme that explains how it works. And I want that to be able to link over to the storybook that explains the documentation for it and how it works. And all of that would just be really hard to maintain. So I figured I've started doing a dynamic thing where basically I'm using templates. So you can see at the top of all these readmes, it says like auto-generated readme. So the way I've got that working is that in everywhere that I want there to be a readme, I've set up a template that's got these like insert how to install here, insert contents here bits. And then I've just got like one top level generate readmes function that just like runs against the entire package and just goes through, scrapes what things are in there, needing documentation, generating the documentation from a config that I've got next to them. And then because it's generating all the readmes at once, it can then build like a table of contents within each folder. And then at the top level, explaining all the folders that are inside of it. I'm kind of hyped. It's still very much a work in progress, but I'm happy with what's going on. The transition to the other scene is so dang smooth. just this nice little blend. You'd barely even notice it. The problem is I keep looking at the camera with the teleprompter, even though you're over there. That's the one thing I need to get used to. So yeah, this stuff has been my obsession the last few days off stream. And I think just anytime I work on documentation, it's such a boring thing to actually spend time on in theory, but something about having a bit more tangibility of like, oh, it's like, it looks like an actual thing. It's like anytime I flesh out the website, even just a little bit, it's like, okay, no, I could actually maybe tell someone about this now. I'm not really ashamed of it anymore. So I think documentation is going to be a big thing with that, is like making me actually proud of it and be like, yeah, look at all this shit. It's great. But that's not what we're doing today, because that writing a thing that automatically generates documentation is not really a great selling point for a live stream, I don't think. What we're going to do is play around with a little component that will automatically animate between different code states. Basically, this has been sort of a work in progress in a few different ways. What I mean roughly is that, you know, you'll have your code written out as just like a basic old text editor view with syntax highlighting. And basically, I'm not certain of the UI I want, but I'm thinking maybe just like a little tabbed interface, like buttons. And you can say like, okay, we're on tab 1 and I'm going to type out my code. And you go to tab 2, you change the code, you know, remove a line here, add a new line there. And then when you like click between the two, it'll go like and change between them, between those states, which I think will be really nice for myself when it comes to making videos about code and explaining what I've built, and just anyone else, because it's going to just be on the website as a thing that anyone can use. And I think it'll hopefully be a really nice way to visualize code changes and just tutorials in general. And that is, in a way, already there. Like, all the foundations of it are there, because I've already got, where am I? Where is my storybook? Here we go. So playback is what the component is temporarily named. It doesn't do anything yet, but so we previously built a code component that just takes a plain text string and renders it with syntax highlighting. Awesome. You were there for that, Cody. You remember the joys of trying to figure out the documentation just to get basic syntax highlighting. So we've already got that there. So when it comes to actually displaying some text with syntax highlighting, we're golden. We just need, I guess, like a text editor, like, or just, text input. That should be fine. And the actual golden of the animating part is already done in the form of this use animated text hook, which I've got. If you just go to my website, localboast.com, you can see that in use here as this like quirky little thing where it's automatically changing what text is there. And just by combining this thing, which is just working off of string A, string B, and interpolating between the two of them based on timings, by combining that with this syntax highlighting code component, we should be able to get a code highlighter, syntax highlighting code element with nice transitions between the two of them, which is the entire reason that I built this use animated text hook in the first place. So fingers crossed, we should kind of get this for free, and it might just come down to making it look and feel nice by like tweaking the animation timings and stuff. But yeah, let's try to get some hype music going. Here we go. Okay, let's just get right into it. I'm gonna close off all my documentation stuff because that is dead to me now. So we are working in playback component. And like I said, right now, I've laid out the stuff, but it does nothing. So we might want to change it down the line to have playback be a generic like interface for just changing between code states. We could probably strip that out down the line. For now, I'm going to have it be specific to a code editor, but so we'll go with that. So I've got my code component that we made the last day. Is that just complaining because it wants a child? Children's missing. Okay, yeah. So let's just hack in some code for now. String states. Actually, I should probably have these defined in a separate file somewhere, just so we don't have a shitload of code in line. I'm just going to say samples ts. Next. Sample A. Now I think I'm just going to do that thing where I just grab some sample code. Yeah, I've got this here. This is kind of a long component, but maybe this will be the final state. And I'm going to try to reduce all the duplicated code. I think even having this sample code in one place is bad enough, let alone copying it over into two. So I'll refactor that down the line. So let's see if I just sort of leave this like as if it's like stubbed out. I'll call this sample D, and then we'll move backwards. So this will be the final state. And so we'll strip some stuff out for sample C. Don't know why that just happened. God. Okay. Here we go. Sample C. I'll just delete the contents of this. This guy here. Just make this like return null. And I guess am I getting ahead of myself to try to make 4 or 5 states by default? I'll just go between the two. And we'll just see how nice this looks. We only need 2 states. And they are called sample C and sample D. Awesome. This music's a bit loud, is it? See how nicely I turned down the music? Oh, only took me like 3 seconds. Whew. Sadly, like 10 times faster than it was before. So if you hear that little noise there, I think it's going through the broadcast. The like, bubba, Windows, something disconnected. My computer's been doing that all day, and it has not told me what's disconnected. None of my stuff seems to be failing. So it's kind of a fun little mystery. Something is broken. Ooh. So we'll see. Hopefully, if that pops again, we don't just... the entire stream doesn't go down suddenly, or like my mic disconnects and I don't realize. Yeah, like sometimes I think I've got like a nest of... I've got like multiple adapters, like USB dongles going into each other, then going into like an external USB extender in my PC. So there's like a bunch of points of failure. And so every now and then I will just get warnings saying like, this USB device doesn't have enough power. And I'm like, which of the 7 things are you talking about? But yeah, hopefully the stream doesn't completely crash like it did last time. I like to say I fixed that problem. I basically switched from the default build of OBS to the stable build of OBS. They might be the same thing, but it hasn't crashed since the last time I streamed anyway, which is a low bar. But yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, so basically I have this all built on my home page. Basically, yeah, I used just an interval just to iterate, just to change the index back and forth. So let's see if we can just steal that. So I think use interval is, oh no, I have that on my website code. So I'm gonna have to extract that over to the library. Where is that defined? Use interval. Oh damn, I literally just defined it in line here. I am awesome. Okay, you're seeing firsthand the library being extended, which I was about to say like lucky you, but that's the whole point of these streams, to see the library being extended. Right, no, it's a hook, isn't it? So we're adding a new hook. I was thinking I want with the view to like making the readmes all be automatic. The way I was saying, like I hate doing everything, the repetitive stuff of like copying over how documentation or how descriptions works and rewriting the same storybook config 20 times. So I'm automating that. I was thinking I also want to try automating the actual generation of the files themselves. So the mere code, just getting like having just a little command line prompt, a little command line thing that I can just type, LocalBoast generate hook, and it'll like lay out the whole folder structure. That's something I did before at a previous job where like I was looking at automating the creation of tests. So I was like, I had a library where you could just be like Catalyst was the name of the library. So you could say like Catalyst generate, and it would find components that didn't have tests for them and then like create a folder structure alongside that component with the test files and like skeleton, like the bare bones of the code and like all the helpers and like automatically passing tests that you have to actually put some thought into actually making the tests. So that's something I've done before that I might want to try put in here, because like you're seeing now, I need to make a hook in the library called use interval. And technically, like what I should be doing is making a folder for it here, and then an index file, and then a storybook folder so that it has stories referenced on the documentation, and also a README template, and all this stuff that's like, and also testing. I think there's the tiniest amounts of testing in here. Oh, hey, Dizzy Dratini. Happy to have you. Yeah, feel free to join the chat. Feel free to talk along. Basically, we're working on a React library here called LocalBoast. And yeah, right now I'm working on making code display editor thing that'll automatically animate between different states of the code. So yeah, having a bit of fun with that. Yeah, feel free to ask what I'm doing at any point, or just vent your own gripes. That's most of what happens when people join the chat. Yeah, so I was making a new hook in here because I'm going to be doing this all manually for now. I haven't put any time into actually automating this part of it yet. So use interval, you're seeing how the sausage gets made right now. Index, a full file called useinterval.ts, which does this. Export default use interval. And these are all things just coming from the library itself. I'm just gonna import this nicerly. There we go. Yeah, it's fun building the library that depends on itself so much, and also having a website that depends on the library as an external dependency, because I'm kind of getting a feel for both, like, is the library itself laid out nicely to work with as like a developer on it, but also as like an external developer using the library, do the imports work how you expect them to? Because I had this thing only this morning, I did a massive refactor to it where like there were some utilities defined in the library that if you were importing the library as like an npm module, you could only actually get access to functions by being like import string helpers from whatever. Oh god, hang on. LocalBoast /dist /utils /string help, like this horrible import path. And like I just didn't realize that because I was only importing that within the library. And yeah, bunch of that fun stuff. Yeah, it's a bit complex. It's the kind of stuff that like sounds really complex when someone else is talking about it. And like even if you had said to me a few days ago, hey, why don't you do this stuff, like write a script that automatically generates X and Y, I'd probably be like, oh, deer in headlights, I don't know about that. But yeah, it's just setting yourself these little projects. It's kind of fun. Most of this stuff is like I decide to do something and then I lose half a day just Googling over and over how the hell do you do this? Just the mere fact of like running TypeScript from the command line just to be able to be like node or what is it, like yarn readmes, just to run my just this one little function that generates some readmes, just to get my command line to be able to do that. It took me like half a day to find the right dependencies to install and stuff. So yeah, it's a bit of a time sink in some ways. Yeah, still need to run through some more beginner Python projects. Do you two know each other? Or I don't know. Are you just getting along so well already? So what am I doing? I've got user interval defined there. Then I always export from an index file for reasons. Oh, it's your girlfriend. Awesome. Telling your friends about me, huh? Well, keep that rolling. Get the whole family on board. Get grandma here next time. Okay, so I've got use interval defined here from the hooks, and then I think I need to still export that from hooks index. I'll stick that here. Export default as use interval from / use interval. Cool. Awesome. Cool. I'll wait. Yeah, I'll wait for her to get here. Yeah, so just to run you through the process even more. So I've got the library, LocalBoast, and localboast.com. It's two separate things. So I've just added this into LocalBoast, the library. And to get the website to be able to use that, I need to build it so that it'll actually go off and be like a nicely built NPM package for the website to use, because I've just yanked it out of the website where it was defined before over here. Yeah. So now I can just import this use interval hook from LocalBoast because I moved it over there. Awesome. I don't know why I'm getting an error though. Oh. Cool. Okay, so now that's there as well. Means that I can import that over here. So that's just some local state that I'll grab there. And really all I'm doing here is just wanting to know which of the two string values to iterate between. So I had what, sample code 1 and 2 or something? Sample C and sample D. Metal Gear Solid soundtrack, yeah. If I'm playing a song, more than likely it's the Metal Gear Solid soundtrack. Yeah. I feel like it's on point with the stream's vibes. It's either just like eerie but not quite life-threatening, or life-threatening. Those are the two states. I've already forgotten the name of them. Sample C and sample D. Sample C, sample D from samples. Cool. So our string states that we're going to animate between. Like I really should be doing this in like a story, like storybook. Yeah, I'm kind of hacking it in here in line. Just thinking about it. Yeah, I'm hacking it in line so that the default case within storybook is to show this stuff, but I should just be making a storybook story, because that's the whole point. If you're unaware, so what storybook is like, it's a documentation thing, but then you can give it a bunch of use cases. So you can be like, if this is the sample text, or if this is the sample text, that kind of stuff. So you can like set up real world examples without having to change the source code to make it work for the sake of an example. And I am kind of going against that right now. So I'll probably refactor that. Maybe today, if we get this working at all. But for now, I'm going to keep doing the wrong thing. So got string states there. And I'm just going to reuse my logic from before. So after, I'm just going to hard code it to be every 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds, it'll increase the index until it reaches the point that there's no more indexes to reach, and then we'll loop back to 0. So since we've only got 2 things, it'll just go between index 0 and index 1. There's that USB disconnected noise again. It's really eerie. Nothing's broken yet though, but still nervous. Yeah, so that's that, and now we should just be able to give this one of the strings. So string states title text index. It's a bad name because it's from a different place entirely. But yeah, so that component should just be iterating between 2 code states now. Okay. Right. Okay. So it's doing it. I just completely forgot to actually include the animation piece.
New follower, Dizzy Dratini.
Thank you so much for the follow. First follower of the day. And continuing the streak of not once having actually streamed and not get any new followers. So, thank you so much. And we got to test that my new new little follow counter. My finger's off screen. My follow counter is actually working. So yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, it's kind of doing what it's supposed to now. So it's iterating between the 2 code states, but obviously there's no animation piece to it. And I'm also thinking that 2 seconds is way too fast. So I'm going to go to 5 seconds. And what I'm going to do is display the power of React libraries and how I've extracted all this stuff. Okay, so this is what it was. It's just a code component with some plain text inside of it. And now I'm going to wrap it in an animated text component. I imported the wrong thing. There we go. Animated text being a component that I wrote before, just to animate from plain text strings to other things. Aha. I see. I'm getting a type issue here. I might try to just make TypeScript shut up for this, because I think it technically should work. Basically, both the code component and the animated text component are set to only accept string children, whereas I'm giving one the other as a... Actually, you know what I can do? I can use the hook instead. So with my library, in general, whenever I come up with a solution like this animated text thing, I make it work via a hook, which in React is basically just a way to encapsulate some logic, like having some animations happen or some, stuff that a website might do. Encapsulate that into a single function that can just be dropped into any old component. And then to make it easier to use, I also include that in a wrapper component that can just be easily dropped into some JSX like this. But in cases like this, where having it be in the JSX is actually harder and poses new problems, we can use the hook, be a bit more manual with it, and do this. So like animated text equals use animated text. Use animated text, and then I'll give it the string that we want to animate, which is this guy. Cool. So this use animated text function is actually gonna do the core logic, like that entire thing of animating, like ticking in the individual characters. That's all done by just having this one function be called. So that's here, animated text should just be a plain text string, so I won't be getting any more TypeScript errors. And let's see if this just works. Here we are. Okay. So it's a bit slow, but it is working. One thing that you may be realizing is that the syntax highlighting is not working. I hadn't thought of that. Because it's set to only do the syntax highlighting when the strings change, not when the actual animation piece changes. Or like not... I wonder is there a quick way to fix that? That might be something I have to think about off stream. Yeah, you just got LocalBoast like localhost. Yeah, I'm very proud of it, and it's one of those things that like I came up with that I don't know if I call it a pun, play on words, whatever. I came up with that, and it was like one of those things where I'm like, oh my god, I need to see, has that domain been taken yet? Oh, surely someone's done something with this, and no. Like there are a couple people who have used the username before, the GitHub username and like the Twitter username were taken, but that's about it. No one's really done like a business with it or like a product or anything. So yeah, that's I'm not the first to come up with it, but I'm the most proud to come up with it. I feel like this music isn't right. This music is way too eerie now. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so we've got this piece going. So there's a kind of a fundamental problem with the way I'm doing this. So I've just set it to automatically to like every 2 seconds, or what is it? Every 5 seconds go back and forth. And that's not taking into account how quickly it's actually typing. It would be really difficult to make it be aware that the code has finished animating, I think. I don't think use animated text has any way to expose that. I could actually make it expose that though. That might be a way around this. But I think in the real world, it's not just going to be automatically doing it every 5 seconds or whatever. It'll be like you'd be manually clicking between the two. So I'm not going to worry about that for now. I wonder if I just make it slower, will the syntax highlighting have time to kick in. So what is it? MS per car. I think by default it's like 20 or 30. Let's see how ridiculously fast it is if I make it 10 milliseconds per character. That, I don't even know if that's... Oh, I'm showing the wrong screen. God damn it. There we go. Yeah, I don't actually know if that's any faster. I think it might be actually getting to the end of the function though. So maybe that's it. I think it's looking pretty nice. I think that's basically covering what I would need from a component like this, other than having actual syntax highlighting. So yeah, the main use case I'm trying to achieve here is like I'm explaining a thing I've built, a library element I've done, like say the animated text component. So here's one that I might actually want to, like, if I'm making a YouTube video, say, I might want to show like, here I wrote this line of code and then I added this line of code. And so I'd want to be able to like tab between the two of them. So yeah, I'm not going to worry about the syntax highlighting for now. I'll think of that off stream. Actually, I'm going to eat my words. I'm just going to try to figure out when it's doing the syntax highlighting and see if that can be changed. Because I feel like it's meant to be doing it anytime the code changes. Code content. So yeah, this should be causing it to syntax highlight every single time the text changes. I'm just going to stick a comment in here and absolutely destroy my console with element previously highlighted to highlight again. First unset dataset.highlighted. Okay. So that might be the only problem, that it's like adding this highlighted flag to prevent it from re-highlighting. So I might just be able to clear that off. I'm going to go to a different page because having that constantly spamming back and forth is going to destroy my computer. So if I go code l dot current dot remove attribute, and what was the attribute called? Dataset dot highlighted. You know, see, can I just do that? Data highlighted. It says dataset.highlighted here, but then the attribute's actually called data highlighted, so I'm just going to try both of them. Data highlighted. We might now run into problems where if it's doing syntax highlighting on code that is malformed, it might just completely shit the bed. Come on. Oh, yes. Okay. So just by getting rid of the flag that says that it's already been highlighted, it continues highlighting every time the text changes. Sweet. Just an idea, until you find the USB disconnect issue, could you mute system sounds in the volume mixer? Yeah, I absolutely could. I will do that now. Has it been firing off a lot? I think I've tuned it out. Yeah, there. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll mute it. Yeah, I really should have done that already. I'm keeping the system sounds on for myself, but off for everyone else. Okay, so you guys should no longer hear them system sounds. And if you do, tell me, because then it means that a different program is making the sounds, and that'd be real weird. But yeah, I don't want to understate this. Got this working, syntax highlighting every time the characters change. Yeah! That's right, we don't just have Metal Gear Solid sounds, we've got Rayman sounds. But gonna follow it up with also a Metal Gear Solid sound. I don't know if it counts as a production value to have all these noises and flashy camera angles, but I love using them. Cool. Okay, so step one, I think we're done here. We got that working. Now, what I want to do is be a bit more manual about it, be able to click A, B, C, D to go between all the different states. Love it. Me too. Okay, so I just heard the USB ping. Did you guys? Hope not. Let me know if you heard it. Because the weird thing is that system sounds already should have been pretty quiet. We heard it too. Yeah, oh god, I have no idea then. That means that one of my programs, like the program that plays my sounds through my Steam Deck, maybe that's the one that's doing a disconnect sound. It'd be really weird though. Yeah, I'll try to look into that off stream, or maybe it'll just fix itself. Hopefully. I wrote audio booping on my to-do list. Right. Okay, I'm going to fill this out a bit more. We're finally going to have samples A and B. Just going to switch to a bit more chill music. Still Metal Gear Solid, but more chill. I someday I'll flesh out my song library. Because I've got like 40 or 50 songs, and I think about 30 of them are Metal Gear Solid. So that's already returning null, and I'll just get rid of that. And that. And, you know, it's a bit of fun to have the different states involve both adding and removing text. So I'll throw some of that in. So what do we do? I'll have it be the same as B, but also with some stuff like a to-do. To-do. Add interface. Screw it, because I add that in down here. I'll copy that over into this. I'm putting way too much thought into making this completely temporary placeholder text make sense. I'm gonna stop thinking about that now. Okay. So we've got samples A, B, C, and D. So now we got to think about some sort of interface to go between these things. So I'm thinking about like this kind of functionality. It's quite front end heavy, as in like it's manually clicking things and going between, just like a nice front end wrapper around functionality that already exists. So I'm wondering, should I make a new hook for this? I don't know if there's any point in doing that. It's not essential that I decide that now anyway, but it just kind of makes it a bit nicer down the line if I've already decided. But yeah, I'm just going to stick with this for now. What am I doing? Got to get rid of you. Don't know why he's complaining. Sample A. Samples. Okay. Typo. Right. Get you actually in sight so that we can all laugh at my errors with visualization. So we've got the code block here, and I'm just gonna... This is in LocalBoast, so I don't have Mantine. In my website, I have a UI library called Mantine that I've been making use of, mainly because it's what I'm used to, and it's just like a quick way to add some front-end stuff like buttons and tabs and stuff. But I don't want to include that in my library because for the time being, the library has 0 dependencies, and I would like to keep it that way. I certainly don't want it to be dependent on an opinionated front-end library, because I want this to kind of be, you can add it into any app regardless of what UI you're using. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm trying to be not too opinionated with any of the UI. So for now, I'm not going to put any nice wrappers around it. I'm literally just going to make them like HTML buttons. And you know what? I'll just make it left and right for now. Button right. This is going to be horrible, horrible display. For this set, I'm going to change the name of these now. Text index. Beautiful. What creativity. And this is just going to take the current one and increase it by 1. Current plus 1. But I'm going to put a guard around it, use the modulo operator, so that it can't go bigger than the actual number of indexes we have. So string states dot length. Length. Cool. So what this modulo operator does, for those unaware, basically it's like this array only has 4 elements in it. So you're starting index 0, we put it up to index 1, up to index 2, up to index 3. But then if we go up as far as index 4, we'd be going outside of the array bounds. And so what the modulo operator does is we're saying modulo length of the array, which is 4. So if this value ever goes to 4 or higher, it'll have 4 deducted from it. So basically when we get to 4, it'll loop back to 0. So it'll be clamped to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back to 0 to prevent it ever going outside of bounds. But I have, that one actually belongs in the right function. Yes, I'm just going to copy this over to the right one, because that's going to be for incrementing. When we're decreasing, we kind of got to go the other way with it. And so we're going down in the indexes, and we just want it to not go below 0. So I'm just going to say, no, what will you do? I'm wondering, is there a nice way to write this other than just like putting an if around it? That new index, I'm sure there is, but it's not coming to me right now. So that's the new index. If new index is less than 0, new index equals string states dot length minus 1. Turn new index. That USB beep. It's, oh, I'm just gonna be watching my soundboard like a hawk, trying to see when it happens. Because like I've got all my sound mixer with the different like inputs, and like when something makes a noise, you can just see it like go up in the visualization just a little bit for a second. So I just gotta keep an eye on that. Okay, we're over here. Is that right? No. It's you. Apologies. Indentation under pressure is never fun. Okay. There's text index. There's text index. We all good? Refresh the page. Sweet. So we're not going to be automatically tabbing between them anymore. We are going to be doing it with manual buttons. That, oh. Kind of worked. Okay. I'm going to refresh the page. The right button seemed to do nothing. Nope, no. Oh, I'm very confused now. It's kind of working, but it's taken a massive time with it. Do I still have like a 5-second delay in here? When you click the right button, it It increases the index by 1. So why was there such a delay? Waiting. Nothing. Okay. So it worked the second time I pressed it. One other thing I should say that I want to add with this component is sort of an auto resizer, because you can see, like, at least now within Storybook, it's all like going off the canvas, and you don't want text editors to automatically wrap to a new line because that breaks syntax and stuff. So I'm thinking, at least on my website where I'm going to be displaying code, I want it to just like scale up and down nicely to the window that it's in. I think that might be a nice option to have. But for now, it's kind of working. It got really big real fast. But I think it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Is that just deleting the whole thing? Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm looking at this like disappointed. Because I feel like it's doing exactly what I had intended for it to do. I think it just looks not as fun as I had intended. Maybe it's because my sample code is just kind of bullshit, hacked together. Doesn't really mean anything. And maybe it's this weird endless delay when you click the right button. Yeah, it's functional, it doesn't have to be pretty. That's I should put that as the like tagline of the website actually, or of the library itself. But yeah, it's doing a thing. We've done that much. Okay, I'm pretty. You know what? I think I'm pretty happy with it. It's working. It's not showing off how nice it can be. Where it's like, you might think that it would like delete from the end of the string all the way to where the change is, but I've got it in theory anyway to detect at what point the string changes and like only delete from there and like add from there. So it should be pretty nice when you're working with code. I think one thing that's getting me down about this is just that this code syntax highlighting doesn't look very pretty, in that like the actual theme it came out with by default of just making some things bold and red and some things green. It's not that visually interesting to me, I think. So I think maybe when it comes to like theming ad hoc on the website, on my website, or maybe there's some like extra options of how to syntax highlight JavaScript or like TypeScript even, maybe that will make me happier with this. But functionally, I think it's there. Yeah, I think I need to have sort of a thought about what I want to do with these tab buttons, because it's a very opinionated front-endy thing that I might just sort of leave that to, that's the kind of thing that might just sort of belong on my website as like, if you want to build your own one, here's the code for it. It's called animated text and code. You can do what you like with it. Sort of like how I have my story, what is it? My Etch-a-Sketch component, which I think is on here somewhere. It's on my website somewhere, hidden in here. Oh, no, it's broken. Sneak peek. Damn it. Okay, somewhere on the website, I've broken all the URLs, but somewhere in here is an Etch-a-Sketch component I built that allows my Twitch chat to interact with it. And that's sort of like, that's not in the library. That's very much an ad hoc front-end implementation of utilities that are in the library. So maybe that's what I'll do with this component, because I'm not sure how to do it in a way that's not opinionated on the UI of it. But yeah, I need to have a think about what else I had planned for today, because I made a quick little list of things, but most of it was going to be working on this component. So bear with me 1 second. Stream plans. Okay, so my plans were making a code bubble for my website, adding the playback component, and maybe adding some documentation. So I don't think I'm ready to be as boring as to go work on documentation. So what I was saying about being all ad hoc and adding code bubbles to the website, let's go do that. Let's see how flashy we can make it when we're allowing ourselves to use Mantine, the UI library. So let's go over to the website. One sec, gotta find my Windows. Playback component. Yeah, check. I gotta build. That's one thing I'm thinking of doing with the website is, so I've got my to-do list as just like a thing on my computer that no one else can see. But on my website, I've got this like work in progress tab that currently has no content. So I'm considering ways of integrating them, that like having something on the website that only I can interact with. I have no idea how to do that part. I'd need to add authentication of some kind, which is real scary. But I think it'd be kind of cool if there was like a publicly visible to-do list that like I and anyone else can see. But that's kind of a mindfuck. Oh, I missed a comment. No, we just need you to team up with Elon Musk so we can download your knowledge into a Neuralink brain chip. Sorry, I just only today saw like a John Oliver thing about Elon Musk and how not great he is. It's while it's flattering to be grouped into the same category as him, I'm not sure how to feel. He's done a lot. So yeah, if nothing else, I'd like to be remembered as having done a lot. So yeah, I'll take it. But yeah. So, I'm thinking of putting some sort of like code. I'm calling them code bubbles. I'm thinking just, actually, what was the inspiration for this? Apple Store. I was looking at some other websites to see like how flashy some other big websites have things. So when I say bubble, I'm kind of thinking of like this, the way like things on the Apple website have like these rounded corners and drop shadows, and when you hover over them, they kind of go up. This is like a nice start to the kind of things I would like to use to display stuff on my website. I think I'd like to put even flashier stuff, like have it kind of like follow your mouse as you move along, just to add a bit of life to it. But so when I talk about a code bubble, I'm kind of talking about like a little UI component like this that displays some code in it, because my website for the most part is a landing page for the library and the videos that are going to be talking about the library. So I think it makes sense to have a nice way to visualize code right on the homepage. So that's what we're going to play around with now. So I'm going to close all this off. So homepage of the website. How did I break this? Oh, so I copied a string from it and also deleted it at the same time. Am I clever? Okay, so under components, I'm gonna make a new component. I'm just gonna call it code bubble, because I like to name things that are like the first name that comes to mind when I go to name them, and then stick with them. For instance, one of the things on my website, I think I mentioned this on Discord, Cody, like this thing that allows the dark light mode toggle to like animate between two different states is called use wipe, purely because first thing that I thought of. And yeah, definitely not changing that name. So SX. Okay, so I think for the most part, yeah, use wipe, I like it. For the most part, I think Code Bubble will use the playback component we just made, and that will sort of encourage me to make the playback component we just made be customizable so that it works with whatever UI library you're using. I just need to make sure I rebuild the library so that the website can actually make use of that component. And actually, I don't think it's exported anywhere. Components, index. Yeah. So the way I've structured the library, I think there's probably nicer ways to make this happen automatically. The mere fact that the component exists in the code base doesn't make it externally usable. I need to actually export it from index file here. So default as playback from /playback. You know what, now that I'm going to do this, I'm thinking there might not actually be any need for the playback component. I think it's too opinionated for its own good. Metal Gear Solid has such a diverse soundtrack. This is, if you're talking about this song, this is actually from Portal 2. This is Karamia, the like turret song. I just love this song so much. There's like that outro bit from Portal 2 where she's like going up in the elevator and the door like slams behind her. That I've probably just watched that video about 40 times. It gets me right in the feels. Yeah, I do love this song. So I'm thinking, I'm tempted. I'm just going to ditch the playback component and copy it right over into the website. Because like I say, I think it's too opinionated in terms of the front end to actually belong in the library. So where is it? It's there. Copy. Gonna cut it. Copy it over into here. Yeah, I probably just want to salvage some of the code that's already there. So we've got, yeah, I'm just going to copy this, stick this into code bubble, rename these to code bubble. And that's how you do code. You steal it from somewhere else and you rename it. From, oh my God. LocalBoast. Why are those not importing? Oh, I haven't exported code. Yeah, that's one of the things I was saying, is that even though code component is here and fully fledged, because it's not mentioned in the index file, the website isn't able to import it. Portal 1 rocked me, never finished 2. It's worth it. It's worth going back to it. I don't think there's anything like groundbreaking story-wise, but just the fear, the sheer feels involved at getting to the end of Portal 2, because I feel like it's like quite a nice resolution in that it doesn't necessarily leave you wanting a third one. So yeah, if you've ever got the time, because the Portal games are real short as well. You know, the first one I think you could finish in like 2 hours if you know what you're doing. But not like, you can finish any game in a few hours if you know what you're doing with speedrun strats. But yeah, it's pretty short. Whereas this song is from Inscription, the card game, or the card video game. I've got a few songs from that game on here. That's code. Inscription, so good. Weirdly, that's a game that like I might have some of the highest playtime on Steam with, purely because with the Steam Deck, it's like such a good Steam Deck game, because like especially in bed, I like playing video games in bed, and with my girlfriend next to me, I feel really bad about playing like Dark Souls or something, being like really clicking around and jumping back and forth and being really loud with the keys. But Inscription, you can play it entirely with just the trackpad and the trigger button. So it's like entirely silent. I can just be like lying on my side, head on my pillow, playing it like that. And I've put so much time into Inscription through that. what am I doing here? So yeah, okay, I've exported the code component from the library, and now I rebuild the library. And now the website should be able to use it. Code, sweet. So that's working. Samples file should be working. Yeah. And it actually, I guess it makes sense for the website to have samples still there, because when you land on the component, you might want to see what the hell it does. Or if you land on the page, I think it makes sense to have some placeholder code in there. I'll probably want to make some more purposeful code than this, rather than just like grabbing some of my actual source code. But yeah, I'm okay with it being there. So we're calling it code bubble. I think I can just delete this playback folder now. Bye-bye, playback. Cool. And so now that what I was saying earlier, that like I had to leave the styling all gross because we weren't able to use a UI library. Now we can, because we're on the website. I'm allowing myself to use Mantine. So I'm gonna use some Mantine stuff. I'm gonna stack these with a Mantine stack component. I'm going to change these just plain HTML buttons to Mantine buttons, which give us some nicer visuals, especially because Mantine, all their components are built to handle like light mode, dark mode stuff, which is the way, like when I switch between light mode and dark mode, you can see like the text is black now, and when I switch to light mode or dark mode, the text goes lighter. And that's just happening for free because when you use Mantine components, it does all that styling changes for free. So that's why it's a lot nicer to use a UI library like that when you're not too beholden to adding dependencies. So I've got chat bubble there. So what'll I do? On the homepage, I'll make a component. I'll have to think about like a better way to structure all this, but for now, what am I doing? It won't be called components. It's a components folder, and I'll call this code shoutout. And like I say, first name I think of is the name I go for. index.ts. Oh, I'm so good at typing. .tys. Okay. Let's get happier music. Cool. So code shoutout, I think is going to be the very high level, just like this is a component that stays on the page, but is, I guess he's going to be the one that determines what appears in the display. But the code bubble is going to determine how it looks. So that's kind of what I'm going to go for. So this code bubble thing over here is going to be like a reusable thing, almost like its own little library component. And then code shoutout will be the ad hoc implementation of it. Const code shout out. God, I type so much better when I'm not talking at the same time. Off-topic question. How did you determine the color scheme of the logo and the purple dark mode? Good question. So my branding has a set of colors that I'm allowed to use, and that branding came from my partner, Rosie, who is a graphic designer. She's actually got a whole video on YouTube. Let me see if I can find it. See if she posted it, full video. Yeah, so her channel Incantress, she's starting up, trying to start content creation similar to me, and she's got a whole video here, logo design process step by step. So basically, as like an initial project for her, and also to help me with my project, she went off and did a full logo design process, going like looking at other branding, other competition, what kind of stuff I'm into, colors I like, and just went through a full like client, like graphic designer process to get me my logo and a full spec sheet of what my branding is allowed to be. So there's a part of the video here. Where she's talking about all the stuff that went into making the logo, and part of it was here. So you can see that she's like coming up with my color palette. And I think there's a final one mentioned at some point here. Yeah. So this is where, like she said, these are the fonts that she chose for me to use on my website and basically all my branding. And there's like a full guidelines with the colors and stuff that I should use. So whenever it comes to deciding what colors I should put anywhere, it's basically like one of 6 colors. Where is it here? One of 5 colors. So my primary color is blue and yellow with the specific hex codes, and secondary colors of green, red, and purple. Yeah, it's very cool. I'm very appreciative that my partner is a graphic designer and was able to help with this stuff, because while I, like, you can see with me making the UX library instead of UI library, and that I like to play around with visuals, but I have no actual design mind at all. So I'm very glad that she was able to do this stuff for me. So yeah, and then when it came to implementing it on the website, so this purple is one of the colors that she chose for me for my color palette, and actually it's kind of an awkward one with the website where like I wanted the header and the footer to be somewhat visually distinct from the actual background. So I think the header is the color from my library or from my branding, but the actual page background is slightly off from it. But yeah, just basically playing around with that. So this yellow is my primary yellow color. This purple here is from the library or from my branding. Yeah. So she's given me the tools to work with, and I'm basically just chucking colors at a wall and seeing what looks nice with no actual proper insight into how graphic design should work. Similar to when I put like a YouTube video up myself the other day, and I spent way too long coming up with a very bad thumbnail that's just like, okay, I know what color yellow I'm allowed to use, and I should have some blue and purple on there, and just like everything else is like, I don't know. Chucking shit at a wall. Yeah. Thanks for that question. Don't be surprised if I talk about that answer more, because I promised Rosie that I will pimp out her business and her YouTube channel from time to time. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing design process, check out Enchantress. Drop her a subscribe right now. I think this is a second account, so that's why I wasn't subscribed to her already. Don't tell her. Don't tell her I wasn't subscribed. Right, so where I'm actually going to be working on this. So we won't be working off the production website of LocalBoast. We're going localhost, which, while I'm happy with that pun or whatever we're calling it, it does make actually typing the website URL in problematic. This is not my website being unsafe, don't worry. It's just that I'm working on SSL with HTTPS, but having to mock that. So my browser thinks it's insecure. Very subworthy. Thank you. I'll tell you you think that. Cool. So this is the local version of it that we're going to be working from. Got our code shoutout component that's doing nothing. Export code shoutout from /. And he is also doing nothing. So this is just going to be rendering a code bubble with some ad hoc stuff in place. So code bubble So I think for this one on the homepage, we don't want it to have like a tabbed interface or anything. Maybe it will have the automatic thing of like every few seconds it'll go between one of two states. That might be a nice way for the homepage to have it. But yeah, why is that not resolving? Am I not exporting this? Code bubble. Export default from code bubble. So we should be able to import this. Import. Yeah, there it is. The hell? Oh, right. So yeah, that's the thing. I've named this file .ts, which is telling my interpreter that it's TypeScript rather than TypeScript with JSX in there. So I need to rename the file to TSX for it to be able to use these angle bracket syntax. Okay, so we've got our code bubble, and this, I guess I'll just, how would I want this to be laid out? I guess I will take that code again from the homepage where I'm automatically animating between one of two things. And I'll just use this in here again. I feel like mentioning every time that this song is from Metal Gear Solid 2, and I have no idea why. It's on the soundtrack, and no one in the comments of the YouTube video I got it from had any idea when it might be in the game, because it's just the most like dissonant song to have, like, if you know what that game is like. I guess I'll just import all from my sample code. I've got that over here by the code bubble, but we probably want that here, I think. Skip. No. Okay, so code bubble isn't going to be doing any of the actual content changes because he's going to be basically a UI element. Actually, he's going to be controlling the animation of the text. So animated text equals use animated text props dot children. As string.
New follower, Twitch Enjoyer 199.
Thank you so much for the follow, Twitch Enjoyer 199. I hope you're enjoying this Twitch. I feel like that's a bot username. Just like, I feel like Twitch Enjoyer 199 is about to offer to sell me some dodgy stuff. Dude, this is so cool. Been looking for a stream like this. Awesome. Thank you so much. That makes me feel good. Really good. I'm constantly worried that this kind of stuff is going to be really boring. And I think that's why I do so much work off stream on it. Sorry, I'm not a bot, just not creative. Yeah, sorry if I offended you. I believe you. Just don't offer to sell me anything. Yeah, pleasure to have you. Feel free to ask who I am or what I'm doing. But basically, I'm working on a website, or I'm working on a React library, and then building a website that uses that library. And the whole purpose of it is just to do flashy, dumb shit, like animating text and flashy buttons that do unnecessarily visual stuff like this. And that's all, yeah, in my library, LocalBoast. That's what we're building. I couldn't even sell money. Yeah, I had a job as a sales representative once in like a hardware store, but it was literally just like I swept the floor and told customers, oh, down there, you're fine. So technically I've been a sales representative, but I couldn't sell anything. What was I doing? So Code Bubble was using all these samples, but we don't want it to be doing that anymore. So we want it to be entirely prop driven. And this isn't going to be doing any of this stuff with the buttons anymore. So yeah, he's literally just going to be a code component that has animated text inside of it. And then I'll look at, I'll make it a bit prettier looking in here now. This is where we're working. So I guess just on the home page, I'll include, completely out of place, I'll just stick in code shout out and see how this looks. I don't think it's doing anything, so I don't think it actually has any content. I mean, code shout out, yeah. Import all from samples. Did I bring that over? Okay. Is that how I want to do this? Probably not. Yeah, okay, I'm going to get rid of those samples, and I'm just going to have it be defined inline as just like code states. And it'll just be an array. It's probably a pretty gross way to do it, but that's how we're doing it. And what's just like some absolute basic, here's some absolute basic and minimal JSX. That's what I'll stick in. So that's one element. And I'll do the exact same element a second time, but with more stuff. So let's say, I'll say in the first iteration, it wasn't animating the text. And on the second iteration, it is. Props.children. So there's my code states. Question, I recently got into React. How long do you think before I can do something cool like this? Ooh. So that's a hard question to answer, in that I don't think there's anything stopping you doing it right away. Like, there's nothing I'm doing here that's like, oh yeah, I couldn't do this if I hadn't mastered X or Y. So like, for context, I've been like I quit my job like 6 months ago or something. Prior to that, I was working full-time as a React developer for about 6 years across 2 different companies. And so like, I have like 6 years of like working on a full development team, full-time, learning a bunch of stuff and working with other people. And I had like no real React experience before that. I basically learned on the job. So to get to where I am is technically 6 years of full-time employment and dabbling for 6 months. I am not saying I'm the GOAT. I'm saying that I should be way better with that much experience. Like, I think despite having all those years of experience, I don't think a lot of that time has necessarily made this stuff possible. Like, the React developer experience that I have is very much like everything is already built for you. All the tech stack is there, laid out years before you even join the company, and now go off and make text look nice. And then it's like, okay, so a designer has given me a design and I'm just fudging some CSS. Like, so it's hard for me to say how much of the 6-ish years of employment I have is necessarily factoring into this. Most of what I'm doing here, I am like doing it for the first time ever, and I'm Googling the shit out of stuff. Like, even something that like a web developer with several years of experience should know how to do, like make a website be able to work off of HTTPS, or how to host a website on AWS. It's like, I don't know, I had to Google every single step of that and figure out every little bit, because it's all stuff that had been done for me by some senior engineer before I joined the company, you know? So yeah, it's hard to say. I think don't like stop yourself working on anything fun because you don't think you have enough experience. Because you learn how to do stuff by trying. by giving yourself the goal. And if you're in a place where you can just mess around with side projects, yeah, absolutely, just go for it. And if you can't figure something else, if you can't figure something out, feel free to ask in here. Come in and say, Connor, I'm trying to make this component. This is my code and it's not working. What do I do? That could be fun. That could be fun for me. Break up the stream a bit. Yeah. Just go for it. Cool. So what was I doing? In the code, shout out component. Yeah. Yes, please. I was just offered a cup of tea and it would be perfect. So I will joyfully sip my tea into the microphone and make you all jealous. Okay. So yeah, I'm redoing the same thing I did earlier, purely because I deleted my implementation from earlier, thinking I wouldn't need it, and realized I do need it. All texts, code states, that's what it's called. Actually, yeah, that's something I'd had on the homepage to get this text animating nicely. I realized that each of the individual states wouldn't necessarily need the same amount of time to get there. So I have like each of the states has its own time attribute. So that I might as well stick with that here. How did I do that? Yeah. So each of these, instead of just being a string, it's going to be text. And then there's going to be time. Is that what the attribute is called? Yeah. And 5 seconds. Now watch me struggle immensely to get this formatting to work nicely. Text. Or am I amazing and it's going to work first time? Nope. No, it did not. It doesn't like this because an object literal cannot have multiple properties with the same name. Oh, right. Time. Ah, okay. It just works. So code states import use interval from LocalBoast, and then code bubble, the actual text content is going to be code states text index dot text. So maybe something will actually render over here now. Maybe. Refresh the page as it just crashed. It doesn't like this import, and I don't know if that's VS Code just being outdated. Code shoutout has no exported member code shoutout. Aha. There we go. More errors. Import. Right, so this should be the default. Are we finally happy? Okay. So it's doing something. Okay, yeah, it was just happening off to the left. Okay, so we're kind of there. We still got the thing that I was saying earlier about how I feel it's just not. It doesn't look very nice, this syntax highlighty thing that I got going. And it's also using the wrong font. Gotta figure out how to style that. You're way more calm than me with errors. Yeah, it depends on the error. Like I mentioned that it took me ages to get just like a command line thing working. I was pulling out my hair trying to figure a thing out. Basically trying to get TypeScript to work from the command line was so difficult because it wasn't using like my TypeScript config that was defined in the package. And I just spent ages Googling like, why isn't it doing that? And people being like, oh yeah, just install these 7 other dependencies and it'll work fine. And I just spent literally hours and hours looking at the same error message over and over. And it turned out there was a real easy fix, an annoyingly easy fix. But yeah, in this case where it's just like I've refactored something and I'm getting build errors, it's not too annoying because I broke it. Can't be too mad at myself. Okay. Minor refactoring, clean up these errors or these warnings. Yeah, so is it a bug or a feature that this is over to the left and then on a smaller screen it was... Okay, it's always on the left. So we'd probably want it to be responsive and be like above conditionally. I'll play around with that later. For now, I just want to get some nice visuals in place. So the one thing I want to do is make it not grow when the string grows like that. So I'll put maybe a fixed width on it. And like I say, I'm not too worried about being ad hoc in this case because this is on my website and I can do what I like on my website. The library has to be flexible and adaptive to other things, but yeah, I'm not gonna be mean to myself about that. It's the code bubble here. I don't know why code would be using this font. Maybe that's I guess that's just something I need to set at my top level index. Not in my top level CSS file. So do I have index.css? Yeah, so here's where I've defined all my fonts. And it's just a bunch of different urbanist fonts. I guess I'll also need to do the same thing for my Unicode or whatever it's called font, which is if we go back to my design process, shouting out your video, telling them all about how I got my logo done. Yeah, so if we go back to my design process, I can see that I've got two fonts that I'm allowed to use: Urbanist, which is like for regular plain text, and then Fira Mono, which is my mono font. So I'm gonna add that into my website as a font that I can actually use. Google fonts, and try to remember how I did all this before, because I just basically got this solution of having all these laid out here from some Stack Overflow suggestion. So let's see if I can remember how I did that. Fira Mono. I think it might have been get embed code. No. Something similar to this. Is it this? No. I could probably just copy this stuff over, but I'd feel sketchy about that. Especially when there's like Unicode ranges and stuff here that I know nothing about how that works. Yeah, there's that USB disconnected noise. Still no idea where that's coming from, and I've given up on searching for it. I had a bunch of just weird issues before stream. It's like the stream started late already. Or I was going to start a couple hours late, and then my computers had error after error. So yeah, it took a while. Oh no, that noise was you. Not gonna fuck with you. We were saying earlier, there's this weird system, something disconnected noise, and it's not going through my system audio, so I can't mute it. But I tried, and none of my things are failing. So it's not like my mouse suddenly stops working when that happens. So yeah, I have no idea what that's about. Yeah, I'm gonna just try to get lucky and find the same Stack Overflow suggestion that led me to this solution. Oh, sorry. Question, how do you get those coding blocks on your website? So you're talking about this thing here? I'm going to assume you're talking about that. So that's, yeah, okay, so that's from my library. So that's something we built on stream the other day. So within my library, within the LocalBoast React library, we've got a code component. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. So the code component is, I'll zoom this in a bit in case it's not that clear. So code component is a couple HTML tags, just like regular, a pre tag, which means that it's pre-formatted. So whatever string you put in there, that it doesn't like automatically truncate extra string or extra white space or anything. And then it's got a code tag, which I think does very little other than tie into the highlighter, syntax highlighter utility that I use. So that's how that's laid out there. And then there's, so what is it? I've got this hook called use syntax highlighting that's doing this logic of making it, actually highlight what is, a return statement and what's a variable and stuff. That syntax highlighting is happening because of this use syntax highlighting hook that I've added in the library. And what that does is basically when the component first mounts, it loads these external scripts in that allows highlight.js to work. So this is kind of a shady thing that I'm unsure about down the line. Basically, my library has no dependencies in terms of like npm dependencies, but it does at runtime load in an external script that handles syntax highlighting, which is, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not only shady in terms of hiding the dependencies, it also will give like cross-origin issues to anyone who tries to use the library. So I'm definitely going to need to rework that. So yeah, but basically, it's for the most part, it's all stuff that we've built. So we've got the code component, rendering the tags, using syntax highlighting through my hook, use syntax highlighting, and then the actual animation between them, the way it's like animating character by character. That's another hook that I built called use animated text. And that's also in the library that handles just animating the characters. So yeah, it's all a bunch of stuff that we've built up over the last month or so to get to this point of being able to show some code on the screen. Thank you. Do I have a YouTube channel too? I do. The YouTube channel is called LocalBoast, and I am live there right now. Other than live streams, I've only got a single video that I put up 3 days ago, and it is not doing well. But it was just like a little channel introduction, so it wasn't algorithm friendly. Oh, LocalBoast intro. I'm gonna click that. But basically, I just wanted a video up there so that if someone went to my channel, it didn't just say this channel has no videos. Everyone needs the first video. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Chainsaw Chody. Thank you for linking that and being the only one who's on the ball. But yeah, so that's why on my stream overlay, the Twitch chat is only in the top left corner. The bottom left corner is actually reserved for a YouTube chat, if anyone were to ever use that. I think the only time that ever gets used, actually screw it, will I test it? It's gonna work. I think YouTube chat has like a much bigger delay than Twitch chat. Maybe my overlay is just broken. We'll see if it comes through. But yeah, I think the only one who ever really watches the YouTube stream are people from Twitch being like, oh, you also have a YouTube channel, and then going in there and saying hi and just watching the stream from 2 places. But yeah, the plan with the YouTube channel is to actually talk about the library. There it goes. Oh yeah, I missed it because it was over my taskbar. Yeah, it's weird the way YouTube chat has such a bigger delay. Maybe that's something that I set up wrong. But yeah, so my plan with the YouTube channel is for it to be like tightly intertwined with the library, so that like if I go to the GitHub the GitHub, as the kids call it. My theory is that like where I'd like to be is, say you go to the LocalBoast repo, that there'd be, you know, an introductory video here explaining what the package is, and then you go into one thing I was saying earlier that I want to set up about the documentation is that I would love to be here and have there be a automatically generated table of contents that takes you to the components, and that's something that is going to be done real soon. But yeah, so like, you know, where I'd like to be is you're in on the components page, and this has its own README with maybe its own video explaining how components work in this library, and then there'd be a table of contents here taking you to the animated text component, and there'd be another video there explaining that component. So like, yeah, that's kind of my rough idea of what to do with the YouTube channel and these streams and the library, is sort of have them all exist as their own things, but to be heavily dependent on each other and like piggybacking each other along the way, so that, you know, if anyone stumbles across the library on NPM, they see, oh, there's a bunch of YouTube videos here, that's cool. But simultaneously, maybe the YouTube algorithm will be the way that they find the library. And all of it funnels back to Patreon, which is the ultimate goal. But yeah. So what was I doing? Yeah, so we're over here. Yeah, so thing is, when it comes to building these things, I have more experience at knowing like how to build the functionality of the visuals, but when it comes to actually deciding how to build like a UI component, I'm never certain, because it's like it always feels so ad hoc, and more than anything I want the components in here to be flexible with however you want them to look. So that's why I'm like, oh, at what point should I add any styling to this? All right, yeah, completely forgot I was adding fonts. I should see if I can just like customize all code tags to use the specific font, because you can see here I have like at the top level index.css, I basically said that everything, which is what the asterisk is. Sorry, the chat is kind of covering it, isn't it? Basically, I'm saying everything should use font family Urbanist, and that's why the code is also using that, and I don't want that to be the case. So let's see if I can just do this and say font family, and maybe since I don't need this to be too flexible, maybe I can just grab it like this. Can I do this? Maybe. No, I can't do a style tag inside of CSS. What am I doing?
YouTube_enjoyer is now subscribed on YouTube.
YouTube enjoyer. Did you just make that username, or are you consistent with your lack of creativity? That's you. Awesome. Love how it shows the block preview. Do you mean this like scroll bit? So like you can see how all the code looks. Because yeah, that's real nice. Yeah, having that level of consistency is cool. I kind of missed it. Was your username just YouTube Enjoyer? It wasn't YouTube Enjoyer 199, because that's, you know, if you're gonna commit to something, commit. Can I see? I'd have to put effort in to see what your username was. So I'll leave you off for now. Yeah, so kind of like I was saying earlier about how like I know a bunch of stuff, or like I'm quite good at very specific things in web development, but some of the most basic stuff I'm just going right to Google because I have no idea. So for instance, like how to make this stuff have a different font. I'm like, oh shit, gotta Google that. How do I import a font? Actually, I could probably do this. I think that is CSS, right? So I could stick this up the top, I hope. I don't know. It's media query expected. Yeah, so... Oh, I don't know. I could just stick this in my index file. Maybe that's what I should do. Do it proper. And by proper, I mean like old school. Index.html. There's some style sheets. And I'm just trusting that all this stuff is safe to put in there. We trust Google with a lot of stuff, it tells us. So that should, in theory, be loaded. So I should maybe just be able to use Fira Mono as my font family. I hope. So where... down here. So I've had font family. Maybe I can just do this now. That is my hopes. I feel like it kind of worked there for a second. I think it looked a bit different. I'm not sure. It's also hard to tell because the width of this keeps changing. So it's making everything go wonky. I'm going to try to just keep this a fixed size. And now we're learning the deficiencies of the library firsthand. So I don't have a way to customize the width of the code component because the library has so few elements that are like visual things that actually render something. For the most part, my components are just sort of like wrappers that put some functionality in place without actually adding any visualizations. I guess I could just say like other props, just spread other props in here. Just take out children, other props. Because basically I want to be able to specify on the code component that it should be like max width 500 or something. It won't like if I actually give it stuff now. So maybe I could say, you know what, I'll just say style. CSS style sheet. Is that what it's called? I've only got like a couple of years experience with TypeScript. So to be honest, I've kind of forgotten how regular non-TypeScript JavaScript works. I'm a lot more fluent with TypeScript, but there's stuff like what type to use for CSS properties that still kind of gets me. Style. Okay. Cool. I guess I'll go one step further. I'll allow a pre-style and a code style. Okay, we'll go with that. Style and code style. And we'll give code style. Oh. I wasn't sure if the music had just gotten really eerie or if it had stopped entirely. It had stopped entirely. There we go. Some triumphant MGS music. Code style. Okay, so our code component can now be styled. Let's rebuild. Yarn build. So now the code bubble, we should be able to tell it code style. What do we want to say? Style width 300. So it's not happy, but it should be happy now because we've rebuilt. Come on. Oh shit. I forgot to make those attributes optional. That's what's happening. So I allowed them to style and code style to be passed in, but currently it thinks that they are mandatory, which they are not. Sweet. Okay, and have our errors gone? Our errors are gone. Cool. So now this is fixed at 300 width. It's not the solution I'm going to go with down the line. I think the solution I will want, at least for this component, is I think I mentioned earlier, some sort of like auto scale thing. That might be one of the next things I build into the library. A way to be like, I think the API would basically be for it's like, here's an element, I want it to be 500 width. Whatever size it actually ends up being, scale it up or down to be exactly what width I've told you to be. And I think that'll just be nice for these kinds of like very visual things that we want it to work on nicely on any display. To be able to like scale up or down automatically would be cool. So I'm not going to worry too much about how ugly it is that there's this like scroll bar that's getting bigger and smaller. So that's not what we're dealing with today. So for this style, we should probably also be able to give it a class name. Actually, here's one thing I should consider. Does Mantine have a code component? I think it does. Because currently my code component, it's doing like functional stuff in terms of like syntax highlighting and whatnot. So we probably do still want to keep using it. But it'd be nice if I could maybe make it polymorphic, which is something that Mantine does a lot, where so basically, like, yeah, if you want to use my code component, it's always going to render a pre-tag and a code tag, and there's no way to like shoehorn in a different component in there. But the way Mantine does a lot of polymorphism, where they'll be like, okay, by default we'll render it as this tag, but if you want to render a custom component or a different tag entirely, just specify that as a prop. So that's something that I might add in. Yeah, so you can kind of see here in there. Why does my music keep stopping? Maybe that's the thing that's hitting an error. Maybe the music's... Oh. So we just got the disconnect noise right after I turned the song on. I think the music is hitting an error, and I don't know why. Just checking that I'm still streaming. Yeah, so in Mantine, you can see that they've got sort of polymorphism in that you can say, like, you can change what element is actually rendered by passing in certain props. And they've got it even more explicit as polymorphism in other places. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm considering, is maybe I can still be using my code component, but maybe render it through theirs. So, just considering. Oh, how are you streaming music? It's weird that the disconnect sound opposed to the error one. Yeah, so honestly, I don't entirely know how the music setup works. So I control the music entirely through a stream deck that my camera is cutting out through a stream deck. And there's like a stream deck plugin that just allows you to play any sound, any audio file. So each of these buttons, when I press it, it uses the stream deck plugin to play an audio file. And that sound happens within the stream deck process, I think. Because like in my audio mixer, the music is showing as coming up through OBS. Or not OBS, sorry, the stream deck. So the stream deck program itself is playing the music. So I think that's probably why the error, or whatever, the disconnect noise is like so loud, is because I've got my music dial all the way up. It's never made these noises before, and I hope it never will again once I restart the computer later. But for now, we'll just pretend it's some extra bass. It's just an extra part of the song. You've never played with one, but Dizzy has one. Oh, cool. The Stream Deck, I imagine. Do you use it for streaming? Dizzy, or if she's still here, do they use it for streaming or like just as a utility thing? Because I had mine for a couple of years before I actually started streaming, and I just kind of used it for dumb stuff like I had it set up for when I was in work a lot, and like work as a software engineer, 70% of your time you're on video calls, which is really frustrating and a big part of why I quit. So I just had the Stream Deck with like mute and raise hand and a bunch of stuff. There's like dumb little things that just save me moving my mouse and clicking a button. Very unnecessary. But yeah. Got my phone anyway. Oh my god, I just remembered I got tea like half an hour ago. How long have I been live actually? Normally I get tired real soon and I'm constantly checking the timer. Oh, very nearly 2 hours. Sweet. Okay. 2 hours and 2 followers. Good progress. I set the follow counter. It default it's like 20 because I think the real goal is to get to 50 because at 50 followers you become an affiliate and you can start like running ads and actually earning some money. So that's the real goal. But I guess they are aware that you don't want to have your progress bar so low constantly. So I think the recommendation is to like always have the goal just like a few notches above what you are. So the goal being 20 followers is great, but as soon as I reach that, the goal will be 25 followers and whatnot. I'm still unconvinced that having that follow meter up there is actually contributing at all, or just worsening the view. If you have any opinions, chime into the comments or into the chat. This isn't a YouTube video. Sorry, I'm getting distracted from the code. Maybe that's an indicator that I've done too much or needs to take a break, but I'm going to try get somewhere with this, get a bit of styling in place. Right, and that's why I wanted to look into the polymorphism bit and using Mantine, because Mantine has pretty nice handling of styles and like the ability to, yeah, they've got like this, all these styles APIs in place and adding class names to whatever you want. So that's why I'm considering that, like, when it comes to adding styles, it might just be nice to wrap it in the code component. Because you can see that, like, I don't know how easily you can see that. So yeah, like their code component, you know, you can specify the color, you can basically any standard styling thing like borders, max width, all this stuff, you can just specify that as a prop inline. So being able to do that might be nice. I'm just thinking how I could do that. Yeah, I'll see. Can I? So if I had component, I think I've done this before somewhere in the library. I'll try to find where I've added that level of polymorphism. That disconnect noise. It's gonna be the death of me. Hey. Luna just woke up. Come here. It's time for me to pour out my dog and get some Twitch followers. Come on, she's camera shy. Yeah, she's actually tactically just not coming anywhere near me, despite me having her bone. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to quickly try to find that component that I made polymorphic. Polymorphic? Polymorphic. Because I especially don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, but I also don't want multiple solutions to the same thing in different places in my library. Was it the truncate component? Yeah. Right, so the truncate component that handles automatic text truncation, and you can specify where in the string it should be truncated. I added the ability to provide a custom tag or component. I think that's what this is doing. Yeah, so if I just add that same thing over here. And then how did I actually use that? Right, so down here at the point of actually rendering some JSX, basically I check, do we have a custom tag prop? If not, just do a span. Otherwise, render it like that. And so that allows you... So down here, I'll try to do like a similar thing. Code tag is... get the tag from props. Damn, this song is really quiet. I tried to like level all the songs to be roughly the same volume because like the inputs were like the original files were just wildly different. So in the player, I tried to make them always play at the right volume. But that one song, it's like the Joker singing from Arkham Knight. It's like just the original file was so quiet that I boosted it to the max and it still comes in way too quiet. So I might just have to kill it. So yeah, here it's code tag. So that allows me to either render a prop provided component or just code. And I probably want to be able to customize props. So code props. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of code style because we're going to be surfacing an entire code props object. And this, I guess this will just have to be like any object because if it's polymorphic, we can't specify what props it can allow. So just object. Can I do that? Yeah. Object. We good? Code props, and then I'll spread this in here. So I want the class name to have these, but also work with whatever class name is provided through props. So I'll need to handle spreading that. So I'll spread in code props, but then if class name is in code props, I'll need to extend that. So I'm gonna actually use another little helper that's in the library. Called, what am I doing? Yeah, the helper's called CX. Will it import correctly? Yeah. Sweet. CX is a weird little thing. It was one of the first things I added, and anytime I start a library, or anytime I start a project, I add it in. And it's entirely something that at my first job, someone had built this into our UI library. And I have no idea what CX stands for. It might have been some guy's initials. Probably not the letter X. But CX is just a way to conditionally extend a list of class names being given to a component or something. So the function, it's in the library, exported from the root, LocalBoast. And the whole point of it is like you just give it a bunch of potential class names and it'll concatenate them, but you can also give it an object. Sorry, still on dog watch. You can give it an object with optional class names and then some Boolean to like, you know, so that way you can be like, you can chain a bunch of things. So you could say like CX button class and then an object with like button class hovered true if the state is hovered, that kind of stuff. So you can like build up class names like that. I have no idea why it's called CX. I entirely stole that name from a past coworker and I don't know where he got it from. So, but yeah, that was a remix of the Portal 1 song. Or I don't even know if it's a remix. I think that's just in the game. I think that was the game. Where is it? Here, Portal Radio. I think this is literally just playing in one of the radios. Like when you first boot up the game in your cell, I think there's just the radio that's playing this. Yeah, a few weeks ago I was just like racking my brain of going like, what songs or what games do I like? And then just thinking what music exists in those games. Yeah, so here actually using the CX utility. Oh, that's right, the credits had the singing version. Yeah. So it's a bit of a callback, I guess, when they do that. Just like this one song has just been slowly like in the back of your mind throughout the game, and suddenly GLaDOS is singing it to you. Yeah, this stream more than anything is making me want to play Portal. You and me, Cody, we're just individually by ourselves, we'll play Portal tonight. I'll play 1, you play 2. Yeah, so this is what I'm doing with CX. Sorry, get some chill music going. Props dot class name. So this is probably unnecessary. I could just concatenate it regardless. Actually, I'll say. Oh, what was it? What were we calling this? Code props. Code props dot class name. I'm gonna have to figure out the TypeScript error because it's like an object that we don't know the shape of, but we're inspecting it to see if it has class name. What do we call this? Possible code. Actually, I'll just call it code props. Type code props. This is one of those times that TypeScript is actually like kind of getting in the way a little bit. Key is of type string. Value is of type any. Nope. What do we do? Okay with that. Code props. Oh shit. Didn't realize I was reusing that same name. Prop types. That's a bad name if I've ever seen one. Because I think it makes sense for the code props to be named that, despite that being up here as well. Oh god, naming is difficult. Code tag props. Yeah, I'll just go with that. Go with that for now. Okay, good. Code tag props is that. And now maybe we'll actually be able to inspect the class name. Yes, okay, cool. So instead of just saying it's some object of unknown shape, we're saying it's an object where the shape is, it's indexed by strings, which is, as far as I'm aware, what an object is. Lurk. What does that mean? Someone watching? I don't actually have viewer count up on my display anywhere. With my setup, my streaming PC has a separate monitor that's entirely blacked out right now. So yeah, keep me in the know. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm setting the class name on the code tag to be this stuff that we always want to be there, and then conditionally extend the class name with the class name that's passed in through code props if it exists. And that's what the CX function is allowing us to do, to like conditionally chain these class names up. Yeah, just realizing I should have my phone up with my actual stream info so we can see. Okay, 4 viewers, damn. Ooh, I'm on my way to affiliate. That is the thing with Twitch affiliate thing, because I was talking about it earlier. That I think to become an affiliate, you need to have 50 followers and have an average viewership of 4, which feels like a really low bar, but is surprisingly difficult to achieve. Like anytime, even a stream that I found to be like, oh, that was a good stream, I got like 3 followers, damn. Even then, average viewership is like 2. So it's always been a very high bar to me. So yeah, that's sweet. If anyone is lurking, feel free to chime off in the chat. Happy to have you. We're very friendly. Not that friendly. Like not creepily friendly. Okay, so I think that's it for making this polymorphic. I hope. So let's see if I can do that in the chat bubble here. So I'm gonna give it tag of, what am I doing? Yeah, so the tag is gonna be a Mantine code. So Mantine code, which I'm going to import code as Mantine code from Mantine core. Cool. Be good. So in theory, so this is my code component, but it should be rendering through the Mantine code component. I wonder, is there any way to inspect that? I guess there'd be a bunch of Mantine stylings in there. Why is that firing off? I removed that. I gotta take note of that, because we do not want it to be constantly spamming the console. Sometimes my handwriting just makes me laugh. That word that very clearly says remote, that's me half-assedly writing the word remove. Okay, let's see. Remove syntax highlight warning. Sweet. It's like Da Vinci's notebook that like only he could read it. So same system I got going here. So yeah, what was I doing? Seeing. So this should in theory be a Mantine code component, and it is, because we can see that there's Mantine code styles applied to it. Awesome. So what does that actually get us? Great question. In theory, that means that I should now be able to do things. I'm going to close this console because that's spamming error messages. Will get to me. So now in theory, I should be able to say like code props and pass in things that the Mantine component is able to handle. So let's try BOR, which is Mantine's code for border radius, I think. If I say BOR 50. Oh, I can't tell if it worked. Maybe it worked. BOR 100. Kind of looks like the borders are rounded. But I think I'm just lying to myself. No, am I insane or not? Those borders were rounded. Maybe they always were. Okay, so I think what might be happening is that the pre-tag itself has styling, or is doing the styling. So maybe the code is getting a rounded border, but the actual background isn't changing because the pre-tag is getting it. Either that or highlight.js is imposing some styles that we don't want. Let's see. If I put like max MW for max width on here, if I control the code through that, will that work? No, that's just not working. That's weird. It's weird that something I did wouldn't work first time. Let's see if we can inspect it. So, Mantine code, and it is getting the MW and BR props. Cool. So maybe the code component isn't able to handle those, and maybe I was lying to everybody. So maybe let's just abandon that for now. Polymorphism, it's working. The code tag is getting the things it's supposed to get, but let's go for more of an ad hoc styling. Code component, I should also make it handle a class name, right? Yeah, I guess I should see, is the pre-tag doing any styling? I don't think so. G. Yeah, so highlight.js is the one imposing a bunch of these styles. So that might be the point that I need to customize it. Sorry for talking through my fingers. I don't know. The fact that this has a rounded border on it is real weird, given that I don't remember it having that originally. But yeah, I guess let's try to do something that we know how to do. I can put a max width on it. Put the max width of 300 on it. Sweet. Can I give this a border radius of 50? Is that doing anything? If I set overflow to hidden, okay, cool. So we are actually able to style this component. That's good. Finally. I wonder if overflow hidden was what was killing us in the first place. If at this point I said code props BR 50. No, that doesn't work. Just kind of annoying. I have no idea why that wouldn't work and why I bothered making it polymorphic. But yeah, it's nice to have anyway. So what's a nice border radius? 20? Is that overkill? 15? Maybe drop shadow. No. Box shadow. Box shadow. And this is one of those things, another one of those things, just like I have no idea how to define a box shadow. Always have to Google it. It's like 4 numbers and then a color, but then sometimes 5 numbers and a color. So it's just, that's just one of those things. You always got to Google it. Which one of these seems nicest to me? Let's go with this one. So yeah, I really should make this accept a class name, because I should be doing this through CSS. What the hell? Code tag props. Did this not copy? I think it's lying to me. This didn't copy. Yeah, so like if I were doing this through CSS, I'd be able to reference this as like my, like a global style that I always use around the library or around the website. But the fact that it's just like inline CSS, it makes it a lot harder to do that. But either way, I've got some bit of a shadow going here. And now I'm just going to fudge these numbers through the inspector. If I can find them. Would have thought it would be up at the top. I have no idea. What's going on? Right, okay, the box shadow is on the pre-tag. That makes sense. So... yeah, like these are the things that... like, it'd be good if I had some consistency of how, like, drop shadows worked, but I do not. So I'm always just, like, coming up with it on the spot of how I want them to look. I should have it, like, animate nicely. So I wonder, could the animation be entirely box shadow based? So if by default it's like fully centered, so it's just got sort of like an outer glow. Is that spread or like distance? Yeah, that's kind of nice. I can play around with that later. Just realizing this chat overlay is kind of making it hard to see exactly what I'm talking about. So there you go. Okay, so if that's like the default state for the bubble, and then I add a transition, box shadow 0.2 seconds ease. And this is just going to be to like test it. I need to transfer all this into actual code so that this happens dynamically on like hover and stuff. So I can test this now. I should really just make this stop flickering around so much. But that would be a smarter man than I. So I wonder, is this a believable effect? No. Not really. Don't know if that's coming through on the stream at all. I'll try to zoom in real far. So I find it really hard. Don't know if anyone else has this. I always find it really hard to grab like the 1 pixel you need to be able to like resize a window. It's like, it's so finicky. I keep just clicking the wrong tab. Yep, it's even there. Oh my god, there we go. Literally like 1 pixel you can grab. Okay. So yeah, what I was trying to do is be able to like toggle, say like on hover, be able to toggle the border or the box shadow as like, oh, the thing's coming into focus. But I don't think it really works going from like being centered to being offset. I thought it might give the effect of the button coming up, but I think it just looks a bit shit. Maybe if I like actually change the size of it at the same time, because the fact that it's like going off to the left just looks kind of bad. It looks like it's moving in the wrong direction, I think. So if they're both 6, but then the second state, yeah, I'm gonna fucking pause the breakpoints or something. Hopefully this will allow me to customize the style without everything flicking around. See, I don't think It's gonna let me change the style while it's paused. That's annoying. All right, give me 1 second. The dog is whining, so I'm gonna give her a bone. I got her a special treat so she wouldn't be sad while I'm streaming. So I'm gonna give that to her now. Give me 1 second. Yeah, and we're back. Yeah, she's being surprisingly good, uncharacteristically good for the majority of this. I think I managed to actually tire her out before streaming, but it wasn't enough. It's never enough. So yeah, yeah, I think off stream I'm gonna have to look into how Highlight.js applies styles and like how customizable that is, because obviously that's something that I want to, you know, actually match the library, the website layout, have it nicely adapt to light mode, dark mode, because right now it's all the one style. And yeah, just seeing is it easier to customize that from outside of the component, as it like override it or actually tell the library how it should style it. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. I think that's just for doing off stream. I think I might be a little burnt out on this. I'm feeling creatively bankrupt when it comes to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this styling, and I'm not going to end stream yet. What we're going to try is do a little documentation. Oh, I've been threatening you with it for weeks, and we're actually going to start looking into it. So I'm just going to cement some of these settings. Yeah, it's I think whenever Luna starts getting antsy, I start to realize how like, oh, I'm overheating. I've been talking for a while and my brain is running on empty a little bit. Sounds like this. It would be great if I were set up to do like gaming streams. Technically, I'm more or less set up. I'd need to like connect the Steam Deck, because that's the main way that I'd be able to actually stream games, because my PC, I tested it, my PC is not strong enough to handle handling all the stream encoding and everything, and also playing a game at high quality. So if I were to ever stream games, I would basically need to screen share from the Steam Deck to my streaming PC. And I tested and it works fine 9 out of 10 times, but will just randomly break. But I think more than anything, I don't want to stream games to the LocalBoast channels. I think I'd rather have like a dedicated account set up for that, and I'm just not ready for that yet. But yeah, I think I've been playing Dark Souls 3 recently, and I think being able to just like, I'm kind of looking forward to stream being over and I go off and play Dark Souls. That'll be fun. Also, we've been rewatching the Harry Potter films. I think like a bunch of people I think do this like every Christmas, or at least like once a year or so. We'll like rewatch all the Harry Potter films, and we missed it this Christmas. We discussed it. We said, oh yeah, we'll add that to our list of Christmas films to get through, and we just never got to it. And my YouTube algorithm is like entirely Harry Potter content, like the Super Carlin brothers, and so that's like all that's the only content I've been consuming basically is either Harry Potter audiobooks, Super Carlin brothers videos, or actually rewatching the Harry Potter films with Rosie. So yeah, after stream, gonna be watching Half-Blood Prince, and probably playing some Dark Souls 3. I'll rant about my relationship with that game in another stream probably. But yeah, had a big milestone yesterday. I was just very glad. Basically, I overcame a boss that made me quit the game before. It was just an impenetrable wall. And I finally got through it yesterday. So I haven't gotten good, but I've gotten just good enough to beat this one boss. But yeah. Okay, so I'm going to park the code that we've been working on. We've got, like, I feel like this is an achievement for a day, that my website is able to show a somewhat styled bubble with code that's automatically updating. I don't think any of it looks that nice, but it's there. Gonna put that as my tagline for the website. None of it looks that nice, but it's there. And yeah, this is similar to the way this text keeps changing what it says. Maybe I'll just have a bunch of depressing taglines of like, it doesn't look pretty, but here you go. Or it doesn't look pretty, but I guess it kind of works. See you about that. Oh, it just occurred to me. I think I might know where that USB beeping noise is coming from. Because that is coming from my laptop, which I'm streaming audio into my streaming PC. So I'm just going to mute that. And hopefully that USB disconnected noise will go away. And I can at least say we've achieved that much today. Getting rid of that annoying noise. But yeah, so parking this. So what I wanted to do in terms of documentation, I was explaining at the start of the stream what I've done in terms of automating the README generation process. And I think it works. Like the actual automation part, it works. It's not fully working nicely with Storybook, but like I'll show you where we're at. So I've do I actually have one generated? Yeah, I do. Okay, actually there's some stuff to figure out there. Maybe I'll have a look at that now as well. So at the top of my of the library package, there's a file called generate readmes, and I've told it that the 3 folders it should care about are components, hooks, and utils, because these are the things that I might want to actually document. They're things that are like publicly exported from the library. So it looks on my file system. It looks through the folders in the project under the source directory, looking for components, hooks, and utils. It goes into each of them and then looks for a stories folder. So zooming in to show you what the devil I'm talking about. So like say here, for example. So under LocalBoast source components, you've got animated text. So inside that folder, there's both the index file that exports it, the animated text file that has the actual implementation, and then there's a stories folder that's excluded from the build and serves as the storybook demonstration. So that stories folder is what drives like this page. So this in this page, this storybook thing, for those unaware, this is on the website under the docs path. So I've just got like a static storybook build in here. So that's how, and so the purpose of that is that like storybook allows for demonstrating use cases and like different ways of playing around with a library. You know, it's similar-ish to the way I was showing like Mantine's website. I think Mantine, they've just basically like implemented their own version of Storybook, to be honest. So yeah, so what I want to have done is that these stories are generated more or less automatically. Like not the actual like use cases, I think those all have to be ad hoc, but say like the description up here and links to the source code, the title, and this doesn't have it, but something else has it. Use truncate. Yeah, use truncate. See, it's got like a little usage block, and I think, yeah, and a link to like the the component-based version of it. All this stuff, basically I want this to be equally like the exact same stuff on the GitHub README page, which it is. You can see here, all that same stuff is there. So, and this like use truncate README, I want this to be visible from a hooks README file, and all them I want to be visible from the top level README file. So that's why I'm playing around with all this, because I think to do all that manually would just be really annoying and a bunch of repeated stuff, especially when it comes to like the footer, you know, like this donations and license bit. I want that to basically be the exact same on every page. So that's why I'm going for this automation push. And what I've got is more or less that, but not including the storybook side of things. So if I run, nope, not yarn build, I'll let that finish. See if I run yarn readmes, what it's doing is going through and make this smaller. It's going through each of these export folders of components, hooks, and utils, looking at each folder that has some stories and looking for this config.ts file. Now, config.ts only actually exists in one of those paths. You can see use truncate is the only thing that's actually getting added to this table of contents. And basically the idea is that config.ts where is it? Here. So this will be like basically just a JSON object that has the ad hoc bits of the story and of the README, such as the name, the description of what it is, the link to the alternative version, and an explanation of how to use it. That's stuff that I want to be on Storybook and also be in the GitHub README. I've got that defined in here as like a JSON object. And the idea then is that when it comes to running the story, when it comes to running the Storybook story, the documentations, you inject the story meta here using the story config, and that generates the markdown that gets injected into this Storybook file, so that as much as possible can be automated of the Storybook stuff. And then that same config file, what is it, story config here, is then used at the top level generate readmes. So any folder that has one of these, it goes through and gets that and then generates a readme based on a generator function I've written. So yeah, all this is there. And then when one of those files is found, one of those readmes is created, we add that to the list, say that we've created a readme for this utility or this component or what have you. And then at the end, and then readme will be generated at each of the packages. So like the components folder will have a readme to index all the files that are inside of it. And then at the very end, the entire package will have one readme to catalog everything. And that's the stuff that I'm saying works, in that you can see, so here's the readme template that for the most part has, it's got like some ad hoc stuff and then some placeholder things like insert table of contents here and insert how to install here. And those are just the bits that I don't want to include in like every readme repeated over and over. So that's like being dynamically injected by this generate readmes function. And that function works. So you can see this readme up at the top. It's auto-generated, do not edit, blah, blah, blah. It's explaining how to install the library. It's added the footer in with all the donations and license bit. So that only had to be defined in one place, and it's going to be copied over consistently to all the readmes. But more importantly, there's the table of contents. And if we preview the README, we can see, hey, we've actually got a table of contents here. And we've got components, hooks, and utils. Only one of them actually has any contents, as I said. use truncate because that's the only one that I've actually given one of those config JSON files to. But yeah, for the most part, the theory's there. It's all working, and the links are completely broken because I have not worked out how to trace the href all the way through to them. That's something I need to maybe look at now. That could be a fun thing to do, because basically one thing that I am aware of that I need to improve with the library is that there's a bunch of stuff in there that's just not documented at all. And so like use animate, use footer padding, use image loader. These are all things that like are used within the library itself or are used in the website, but that if you just went to the GitHub or the storybook, there's just no mention of them anywhere. You wouldn't know that they exist. So, and especially with this table of contents being driven by the presence of stories, I am kind of going to try to force myself to put as many of those storybook configs in as possible so that, you know, I can actually boast about all the stuff I've built and that it doesn't just sit there unmentioned anywhere. So let's have a quick thought at how to do these hrefs. So I'm not actually certain how linking within README works. I think it's all like relative URLs. Like here, I'm referencing a picture file within the project, and that's working as just like a relative path. Like assets is just a folder at the same level, assets, and to be able to reference that same file at a further in README, I needed to do like ... to like backtrack up to the path. So when it comes to linking to a README nested inside, I'm not sure how this will show here, but say if I go source/components/ readme.md. Actually, I wonder, for the sake of like GitHub, I wonder would this work? So that's taking me, when I click this, VS Code is bringing me to that folder, which is probably good. That's probably what I want, because that means on GitHub I wouldn't necessarily be taken to the README file. I'd be taken to the folder, which by default will render the README. So that's probably good enough. Okay, so at the point that I'm generating that to do, where was it? Populate template. Table of contents. So here I literally just made the href be to do because I wasn't sure how to do that. But if here, it was literally just like source. So I guess I don't have to worry about being too ad hoc, I don't think, given that this is only going to be used by me in my storybook stuff. This isn't part of the exported library. So it's just going to be source / so I'm doing this in a couple places here. Basically, I'm generating this markdown in two different ways, depending on whether it's a nested folder or the top level folder, which is probably kind of bad. It'd probably be nicer if I made it consistent, but I wanted to be able to do it like recursively and be able to distinguish whether we're at the top level or the inside. It might come back to bite me down the line if I want to introduce further nesting. But let's see if we can just make this work. So both of these, they're always going to be source. Apologies, 1 second. Rosie is asking me to finish up soon. So we're going to try to just get these hrefs working, get this readmes linking, and then we're going to probably call it quits. I'm going to put on some more intense music because we need to get the party going here.
The Skyrim theme song from the
I'm going to try pick this one. This is appropriate music for writing readmes. Okay, so each of these links is going to reference source. It's going to be in source, and then so if it's an array, then we know we're inside the nested folder. So we need to know the path that got us here. So if we're in here, then we can just interpolate in the title. Is that what we're calling it? Got to locale lowercase. I'm downcasing it there because oh wait, what? Oh, it's export name. Because the export name is upcased for the sake of visualization within the README, as in we want it to be like components with an uppercase C, even though the file name is a lowercase. So that's why I'm downcasing it in the actual lookup. Probably don't need to. It's probably fine, right? I guess GitHub will resolve it. Oh wow, it is case sensitive. Okay, that's good to know. Export name to locale lowercase does not exist. To locale lowercase with an uppercase C. How ironic. Genuinely, I don't actually know what the difference between locale lowercase is and lowercase. To lowercase first. To locale lowercase. So it takes localization into account in most cases. With most languages, they will produce similar output. Similar languages behave differently. Okay. I feel like it's probably just safer to use to locale lowercase, so I'm going to stick with that. So if it's the top level export, it's just going to be source/thingy. That should work. But if it's the inner one, then we need to know the name of the file. So it's called title. But we also need the path there. So it's actually not going to be, I'm not going to have it be source. It's going to be path. Parent path. That's a bit more explicit, I think. And parent path, I'm going to make that be an optional attribute to aid with recursion here. So parent path is optional. So we don't provide that the first time we're calling it. Gotta keep the fun times rolling with this music. So we don't provide that path the first time we're calling it, but when we're recursively calling this, we do. So we're going to say okay, so I'm going to have that bit where I did the lowercase, have that be a variable because we're going to need it twice. I'm just wondering, am I breaking anything by lowercasing it? It's not. At least for hooks, components, and helpers or utils, there's no like, like if it was like use wipe, downcasing that would break the entire thing because it would be downcasing the W. But I don't need to worry about that. The URL, it'll be entirely downcased, I think. We're good. I need to stop worrying about it. Export, file path is going to be this. export file path. Okay, why are there so many errors? All right, not returning this. Okay, now when I'm calling get table of contents, I'm going to pass in that export file path so that on the next run, when we're doing the inner one, it knows that is the path that got us here. So hopefully that's everything. If I generate the readmes again, so the top level readme, okay. So the top level readme, the components is referenced at source/components, hooks is source/hooks, use truncate is source/hooks/use truncate. Now I don't actually know if this referencing will work in GitHub. I guess I could just push it all up. Maybe I'll do that to see if it works. Use truncate has a readme in itself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to push this to GitHub and then we'll see, does that linking work? I might need to adjust it slightly. I don't know why I have so much trouble today of like grabbing the grab handles. Is that me or is that like an insanely narrow, literally just like 1 pixel where I can actually grab on the resize window? Okay. Readme. See, I did a bunch of stuff of like customizing the storybook and didn't get very far with it and just parked it. And so I've got a bunch of uncommitted files that I really need to get back to. So that's why that's there. Here we go. Okay. Code components plus initial generated readmes. I feel like I'm usually better at committing more regularly and having more succinct commits, but a lot of this like bouncing back and forth between different things to work on is making my commits real ugly. Okay, I'm just gonna push. Cool, so now we can see what our readme is looking like. So our top level readme. Syntax highlighting is working. That's one thing I changed. So this is definitely the updated one. Cool. We've got our table of contents. I think I need to look at customizing this because I don't think it looks that great. I feel like there's a lot of spacing here. I could probably like indent it nicer as well. But yeah, ultimately, is this working? So the URL seems correct. If I click components, it takes me to the components readme. Ah, it has no contents, but that's expected. Yeah, okay. Sweet. Components readme is generating. Hooks, presumably same. Hooks has a readme. Utils has a readme. Awesome. The hooks readme has a table of contents, which is undefined. Interesting. Oh, that's weird. I'm not sure why that is. So if I... Why is that? Okay, so I hadn't thought about that. So at the top level readme, use truncate does correctly have the parent path that gets us here. So I click use truncate, it takes me to use truncate readme, which doesn't have the full template stuff in there that it probably should have, because it doesn't have like the donations and my links and license and stuff. So yeah, I should extend that. But inside the actual hooks readme, this one. This is giving us a broken URL. Because this is trying to take us to source/hooks/undefined/use truncate. And I'm not sure why. Oh. Okay, is that just as simple as if it's an array, I'm assuming that there's a path that takes us there. That's not always the case. Is array. Oh. Is it under helpers? Yeah, here we go. So if it's an array, then, so if we have a parent path, use parent path plus /. Otherwise, empty string. So that should fix that, I think. Let's try generate them again. Oh. Okay, so I should see just one difference at the top level. No, why is that different at the top level? Oh no. Did I make it do the opposite of what it's supposed to do? We have a parent path, it's parent path plus /. Okay, so that shouldn't be there. Right, and here's the source hooks. Cool. Okay, I think it's working perfectly now. Just generating them again. In here, cool. Nice. Okay, so that's the only changed one now. Fixing undefined path in readme. Push that up. Sweet. So here in the hooks repo, our table of contents, use truncate. Yay, it actually takes us there. Sweet. So this is part of the way, like kind of almost part of the way to having the kind of documentation that I want. And what I'm saying about the storybook stuff is that, say if I like these are able to like link around to other components and other parts of the library, like I was showing in storybook. And similarly, if I do this, see samples and full documentation, I click this, it takes me to the website that shows the storybook build with the code for this, or with the demonstration of this. But obviously we don't want to have the same thing written twice. So that's why like this stuff is the exact same config driven description, titles, usage stuff that was on GitHub. And so it's all kind of working intertwined. So the one thing that I haven't even kind of looked at is that on my local build of Storybook, I have a top level README here that currently is just entirely placeholder from Storybook. But I want this, I want this top level README to match the GitHub top level README. And I haven't even begun to make that work. But yeah, so we've got only a little bit more to think about in terms of setting this up. Got to get the GitHub top level README working. I've got to make the individual stories use the same kind of template as the rest of the page, as the rest of the pages. And then I've just got to add a bunch of stories to everything in the package, because like a tiny fraction of what's in there is actually documented. Yeah, I'm probably going to call it there. It's a productive stream, surprisingly productive. Hey, you're back. Oh, wow. Perfect time to see me say goodbye. Yeah, unfortunate timing. Basically, mine's kind of burnt out, and have been taking up our living room for too long. So yeah, thank you very much for joining and subscribing and following, both things. Yeah, very happy with today's stream in terms of actual progress for the library, and keeping the run going of never having a stream without getting at least one follower. So thank you very much. Got to find a nice, what do we want? A sad song to play us out. Yeah, as always, feel free to join our Discord. Oh god, I gotta find a nice way to get this linked up. Saluting. If I put in here Discord, nope, Discord, there we go. So there's a Discord. If anyone watching wants to join, find out when I'm going to be streaming next, find out about videos coming out, or join the discussion about the library, how to use it, make suggestions of how to what other things could be added or what fun things could be done on stream. You can join the Discord and give suggestions, or do all the things. Sorry, my brain is a bit fried, which is why I'm ending stream already. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. I should hopefully be streaming again on Wednesday, but I'll let you know on Discord. So yeah, talk to you then. Thanks everybody. Trying to find the button. Cannot find the button. My brain not working. There we go.